Hello, everybody. It's Sab here for another episode of the Creative Smartphone Photography Masterclass Chat Live Facebook thing. And it's on YouTube as well. This is my mug today. There we are. Don't ask me why. It's a zebra. No, sorry. It's a zebra is on my mind because there's a zebra crossing in my latest photograph. Don't ask me why. It's a giraffe on a skateboard, but it is. How are you doing today? Would you like to see some photographs? Psst, would you like to see some photographs of Paris? Also on the agenda is photographs from the BBC, but they have chosen some award-winning photographs in some Sony award, so we can have a look at those. Also, of course, your photographs will feature on the theme of trees, mainly because we had the theme of trees recently. Look, it says so here. 1 second. It says so here. Creative Smartphone Photography, current theme, talking trees. Next live show, 12th April. That's today. That's my homepage. You can always see what I'm up to there on the profile on Facebook. This is the smartphone Creative Smartphone Photography group. You should be a member if you're not already. And we have a theme every couple of weeks because there's a video there's a live show every couple of weeks. This is today's, and there's a theme. So the theme that we had was talking trees or some sort of trees. And maybe we can see a picture of a tree. That's my picture of a tree. Current theme, trees. Just walking down the street. I saw a big smile on it and I thought that'll do. And do we have any pictures of trees? Yes, we do have a couple of pictures of trees, which I will talk about soon. If you would like to say hello, please say hello. If you have comments on any of the photographs you will see from my latest 2 weeks of work, then please comment, say what you like, ask me questions. Did you notice that I didn't say what you don't like? But you can if you want, as long as you do it nicely. Any questions you have about photography, please let me have them. And let's launch right into it, shall we? So this is my latest set of photographs. Here they are. Ta-da! They're so fresh that I haven't published the last 2, so I'm not going to talk about them. But they're there. They're already on the page. I will talk about the other 9 minus 2 is, as you well know, 7, which means that there is another 7 photographs which I haven't shown you because this show is fortnightly. So here are another bunch of photographs that you haven't seen. Well, you might have seen them. I don't know. So the 7 of those I'll talk about, and 7 new ones. So let's start with the new ones. Did I try to put these together in any particularly nice way? I don't know. Okay, yet the left one in the top and the right one on the top have both got a bit of sky, which I thought was quite nice. Apart from that, not really too much thought went into these, putting them together. Yeah, so say hello. I hope the chat's working tonight. Do say hello. I love to get comments, hellos, and where you're from and who you are, and especially comments on photographs and questions as well. If you like them, say why you like them. That'll be interesting for others. And if you have questions, that will be interesting for others as well. So I'm going to work forward on these ones. This was a strange one. This is a good example of wherever you are, be ready. And this week is a good example of that because I was out in Paris with my son and I missed 2 wonderful photographs. And those are the photographs that I'm going to remember from that trip, not the ones I got. I was sitting on the train. I had my phone in my hand and I looked out the window and there was a woman jogging along by the side of the train with a cat on her shoulders, running with a cat on her shoulders. It would have been amazing. Didn't get the shot. And there was another one. It was a wonderful old Paris metro station from the outside with a lovely sign. I haven't seen any sign like that before in Paris. There was a bird just sitting right there saying, "Come on, take my photograph." And then another one flew down to join it. And of course, I wasn't ready. No, actually, my excuse is my phone was full of photographs, which is actually a good thing. And I didn't have any space. I regret those 2 photographs. But what can you do? Here's a photograph I don't regret because I got it. Isn't that weird? I'm in an office block on the outskirts of Paris. Look out the window. You see a helicopter being pursued by a hot air balloon. That's got to be kind of unusual, right? So I took the shot. I played around with it, sabified it a bit so that this window, which was actually quite clear, became as grimy as I could get it. I don't know why. And then down on the right, if you want to read the story, that's a rather mysterious Parisian building. The United States has a pentagon. Paris has a hexagon. And they're pretty much on the same lines. This one. This is an example of a few things. It's an example of Paris being the city of shadow as well as the city of light. These are people camped, at least they've got tents, camped on a random pavement. And it's also a good example of getting up high, because when you look down on things, it's a totally different look. And you can often capture people doing things without them knowing, and you're really capturing them. If you're on the same level as them, they might suspect you're taking a photograph. If you're up high, not only is it an unusual shot, because most photographs aren't taken from up high looking down, you also get people really being people. There's another interesting aspect of this photograph, which is the light and the shade. As I said, Paris is a city of light and shade. And in this case, it's actually quite blatant, because you've got this line which goes diagonally down there to the edge of this tent. Then it kind of goes along the tent in a bit of a jagged line. Then it comes back down this way in a kind of zig of a zag. And the woman is actually in the shade, but the way I've played around with the photograph, her jacket has become brighter again. So it was a contrasty shot. I kind of did strange things with it and then recontrastified it so that I could see in the shadow, because I couldn't actually see much in the shadow. So it's a very strange photograph. I'm not quite sure, what's happening there. You have to look a bit closely, and then you realize that there are 3 tents camping on the edge of the pavement in Paris. Here's another one. And this one is really nice. I really don't understand why I haven't taken a photograph of this before. This is going to be a quiz question, so if you don't want to know, then don't listen to me for the next minute. Do you know where it is? It's one of those strange things. You'd think it would be really iconic. It's such a beautiful passageway going between 2 classical Parisian buildings, and yet I had never taken a photograph of it. I'd taken a photograph of things on either side, a huge statue of clocks, and then on the other side, a huge statue of suitcases, but not this. And it is a passageway in between the Gare Saint-Lazare, so Saint-Lazare station, and this building on the right, which is actually the Hilton Hotel. And the passageway, I should be telling you this in the Paris show, actually, but it's got a bit of a story to it. And how can you take a photograph of a passageway which is up in the air? What's going to be at the bottom of the photograph? What's going to be at the top? Because if I wanted to take it in context, I would be taking it pretty much looking straight ahead. So the passageway would be near the top of the photograph. And then you'd see, people running around and stuff below it. But that really was messy. It was a horrible, messy photograph. There was nothing pretty about what's underneath this passageway. So I thought, okay, make the passageway the bottom of the photograph. And the fact that it's in the air and there's space underneath it is actually quite cool. It's interesting, isn't it? It's an elevated passageway. I looked underneath it. It's got beautiful brickwork. It reminded me of underneath some of the elevated sections of the metro lines. They have these kind of brick arches, which is very nice. So I managed to get those into the photograph, I see, and really beautiful decorative ironwork and stuff. And I got this lovely wedge of sky with these. And you can see that if you look at the vanishing point, so where those lines of the buildings seem to be receding to. It's somewhere around about here. In other words, down in the bottom left. And that's much more interesting than if I'd been in the middle of the passageway and the buildings were exactly the same distance and the same angles. So I'm much closer to one side than the other, which gives that effect of the one on the left, this building on the left, it almost looks like it's going almost vertically down to the ground. And this one is much more of a 45-degree angle. And there's a lovely wedge of sky, and I was lucky to have some beautiful clouds as well. So I'm quite pleased with that, even though there's no human interest, there's no one doing anything, no one walking past. It would have been nice to have someone walking past, like just ahead in this archway here. Wouldn't that have been cool to just have a sort of the silhouette of a head going past? It wasn't to be. A bit like my great regretted photos. Now this one is a self-portrait, although it wasn't taken by moi, it was taken by Beatrice. And it's very cool. I was trying to take a photograph of, I'm not sure if that's my photograph or hers actually, but I maybe borrowed her photograph so she could get a photograph of me on my camera. But I was wandering around, this was a Bastille, and I noticed on the ground these plaques, and I'm a bit of a fan of plaques, odd plaques, not special ones that have a strange meaning. These ones not only were in a strange pattern, but they had a wonderful motif on them, which is actually the fortress of La Bastille. That they stormed in 1789 or something, the storming of the Bastille, and they've put plaques on the ground to represent where bits of this old palace used to be, this old fortress used to be. But I love that. So I was busy taking photographs of them, and my faithful companion got this shot of me, which I think is great. And you can guess why I think it's great. Because I'm in it. No, I'm joking. Because it's got the thing I'm taking a photograph of in perfectly positioned. Well, actually, that's me, isn't it? Perfectly positioned in the little camera, the phone I'm using. Although, having said that, I'm not responsible for the fact that my finger here, you see this little sort of stubby finger here, doesn't touch any of the round plaques in the camera picture itself. That might sound like a small thing to you. It's a big thing to me. It's such a big thing to me that I'm looking at my hand here thinking, and also you see there's a plaque. Can you see where I'm moving the mouse? There's a plaque just behind the phone there. There's also a plaque that touches my hand. I would maybe have liked that not to be touching, but that's a tiny, tiny point. And it's almost pointless because the wonderful thing is there's a picture of these things that I'm taking a photograph of on the phone. And these ones here are a beautiful distance. I must admit, I cropped the photograph afterwards. But it is exactly the same distance between this one here and the edge of the photograph on the top left, and this one here under my head. So all of that counts. This fills in the space, which would otherwise have been very empty. There you go. What do you think? What do you think? And no, I'm not showing my face. And yeah, I've got something around my ear. It's one of those horrible masks. But because you can't see my face, you can't see the mask either. I think that's great. I love that photograph. Right, a few more, and then I'll pop over to the BBC and see what they have. No, I'll go to the end of this line, and then I'll look at some of the tree photographs. So this one is not quite a tree, although there are trees in it, branches at least. This is in a park called the Square de Batignolles, Batignolles Square, in the northwest of Paris. And a lovely little park, which I didn't really know. And there we go. And in the top right, you have this, which is kind of it's an echo, isn't it? It's an echo of this one here. Obviously, it's completely different, but it's still round. You've got a center, very clear center in the flower there. You've got a very clear center there. You've got this big outer circle as well. And I think they match each other beautifully. And I tried hard to try and get the middle of the flower in between these two things here. And then I sabified the photograph a bit to make it a bit punchier. And that was literally, just walking around, keeping my eyes open, and you find these things. They can be tiny. Sometimes there are amazing things which are tiny. And if you, for example, a daisy with something next to it, a stone next to it, that might seem incredibly insignificant. But you imagine if you got in really close, you filled the frame with the daisy and the stone, and then you published it this big, it would be just as impressive as this huge artistic flower thing, which is much bigger than me, and this Belvedere thing. And it makes a nice centerpiece, I think, as well for the chapter. And then there's this one. This one was in a different park. And, I've got a comment. Hello, comment. And the comment says, "Hi, Sab, and it's Chris. Hello, Chris. Nice to have you here with me." And this one is in a quite recent park. It used to be railway sidings, I think, and then they completely revamped it, and it's become quite a nice, interesting park with a few features. Oh, incredible flower! Looks huge. Yeah, this flower, Chris, isn't actually a real flower. It's a fake one. So this is a little sort of I don't know if it's called Belvedere or something, but it's devoted to modern art or some sort of art. So you can have a display in there for a few days probably, and that's what that is. So they're not real flowers. And this one is so nice to see this, because look at the bird. Can you see the bird? This is it's a heron, and normally they're pretty scaredy-cat birds. I think they fly away at the breath of a human, and this one was perfectly at home. And in another photograph, the next one actually, for some reason, which I will show you right now, actually, it's moved over to another part of the water, and people are just walking past, and it doesn't seem in the slightest bit phased. So that's cool. This photograph is all about angles, and this photograph is all about reflections. When I say all about, I mean that's like the main thing that can hit you as an artistic feature. This one's got reflections, and quite nice ones because it's blue, nice sort of blue. There's someone running past, people lounging around, and down in the bottom right, this heron and its reflection. All around this park are these big modern buildings, and I can't say I'm a big fan of them, but I managed to not show too many of them. Hello, Thomas. Nice to have you here. Thanks for watching. You've missed a whole ton of photographs. What does this say? Nice framing of the two people in the window. Let me see. Are you talking about these two here? Could be these two here. This one here is the one I was trying to frame, this woman running. Frame her with the door, which is then nicely reflected in the water. Or maybe there's some other people framed. Yeah, there's someone framed as well. And these people are kind of framed. Yeah. This one, the first thing that hit me was the angles. There are actually, I'll tell you about 3 angles here. Do you know what they are? There's the first one in both pictures. Thomas says, framed by the window in both pictures. Yeah, they kind of are, aren't they? And the 3 angles I'm thinking about are this one, going from the top right to the middle left. Can you see my mouse here? Then there's this one, coming from middle left down to the bottom right. And the third angle, you can hardly see my mouse there. The third angle, which I do want to draw your attention to, is the fact that I took the photograph from above. So I'm not looking straight ahead, I'm looking down. And this is really something to try and do as often as you can, because it just changes it. I always say to people how to take a shot which doesn't look like a standard snapshot. Do anything except take the photograph from where you are looking ahead, raise your camera to your eye and click. Do anything except that. So here there was something to climb up, so I climbed up it and shot down. So let's have a look at some other pictures now from the smartphone group. This was a picture that I used to advertise the theme, and we've got a couple of people who have contributed some photographs. This is from Dorothy, and she says she doesn't say anything, but there's a kind of a tree in it, I suppose. I haven't really looked at this yet, and now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, yeah, there is a tree down there, yeah, okay, but there's much more of a lamp, isn't there? Maybe in homage to Alice, maybe, although it's not a Paris lamp. And then also try to include a caption, because I don't like naked pics. I always say to people, no naked pics. In other words, don't just post a photograph. I always want some comment about it. I know that photographs should probably speak for themselves, but not in this group, because otherwise we've got nothing to react to. What do you say? Nice photograph, or it could be just any sort of photograph dumping ground. So always include a comment that gives us something to react to. Here's I won't say anything about Kristen because it's her first posting. And but tell us about this. Tell us, where is it? I'm intrigued. Look at this. I love these. It's silver birch, I think, and I sometimes peel off the bark from silver birch trees, and I'm going to start incorporating it into my paintings. I think it's beautiful. It's so thin, papery, lovely texture and color. So that is, I'd love to know what this is. I mean, is it New York? I really don't know. Absolutely beautiful texture on those. I love the way there's a space here through which you can see the city in the background. That's great. So welcome to the group, Kristen. Lovely to have you here, and thank you for contributing. Dorothy is saying something, probably complaining because I didn't say anything about her photograph. Rectangles galore, says Chris. And yes, a windy palm tree. There it is, windy palm tree from Dorothy. Thank you, Dorothy. Now, to show wind, I'm just wondering if you wanted to show wind, that could be a good moment to try and maybe get some slow shutter speed going on, so that it's actually a blur. You could practice doing that in some cases. Right, do we have any other tree photographs? This was one, I probably showed this to you before, but it's an amazing photograph, because you look at it and you think, oh wow, look at those black horses, isn't that amazing? And then you realize that you have to look more closely, and you can see that the black horses are actually shadows of zebras, which we are looking right down on top of their backs. It's and because they merge very nicely into the sand, so it's a pretty incredible photograph, but I won't dwell on it. I'm just wondering if there's any okay, this one's from Beatrice, and she contributed a few photographs on the tree theme, also playing around heavily with effects, which is one of the things that she loves doing. I take a picture of buds on a tree. I wanted to have the other branches, she's tricked me again. I'll tell you why. The other branches are shadows on the wall behind with a blue night style. Okay, think blue night, all right? Look at the lovely blue night and these trees with a couple of electricity lines behind. You see those? Well, it isn't. Can you see what it is really? This blue night sky type thing, it's just a wall. These lines here are lines between layers of the wall. And there's only one tree here. We're looking at one tree and its shadow in bright sunlight, by the way. Isn't that cool? And she tricked me again, because I looked at it and I, again, not for the first time, I thought I saw the trees and the sky. And then I remembered, no, it's against the wall. It's a shadow on the wall. So that's great. And I love the way you're playing around. You're really enjoying playing around with some of the apps you can get on the phone. I've got stuck in a rut. I always do similar stuff, although I try not to. So not always. but I'm always inspired to see what other people have done, which are things which I've got my idea in my mind of what I want to do. I know what I could get an effect which would really please me, and that kind of sometimes stops me from doing something that I haven't done before. I should do both, actually. So thanks for that. That's wonderful. It's Beatrice again, and what a strange tree I saw today in Vincennes near Paris. Can I blow this up any bigger? Oh yeah, look at that. Check that out. It's actually a place where you can put the books you don't want and take some you want to read. You might have some of these in your town. Does anyone have one of these things in your town? I love them. I always look inside and I always find a book that is really characterful that I can use for a self-portrait or some other type of shot. She says there are many places like that in France, and this is the first one in the shape of a tree I see. It's kind of funny because you'd open the door. I haven't seen this, but you open the door. I imagine there are like shelves with books inside. And isn't it kind of funny that books are going back to the tree from whence they came? And let me just quickly show you a picture of a photograph that I took with a book from one of those places. This is probably the deliciously disintegrating book I've ever seen in my life. It's wonderful. The cover's hanging, I won't say hanging on, because I don't think it's even attached to the pages. It's hanging together desperately by a couple of pieces of sticky tape that look like they're prehistoric. It's amazing. Did the dinosaurs have sticky tape? I don't know. But I guess it really was an old tree. Now, I would, what would you do if you had this? How would you take this photograph? That would be interesting. I'd be tempted to maybe open the door and so that you could see that there were books inside, or maybe have my hand reaching in, hold the phone in one hand and have the door open if necessary, and reach in so that, and to be taking a book. Take a photograph of me reaching in to take you know what I mean, to give it a bit of context. I often think if it's something that definitely has a purpose, I always like to see if I can find a way of it serving its purpose. So if it's a machine serving baguettes or something, someone waiting desperately for their baguette or reaching in and pulling it out, that's just a little comment there. And what else have we got? Got any more pictures of trees? So I'm going to try and bring back the theme. So I'm thinking, what would the theme be? So my theme for this week, I think, is going to be looking down. The only problem is I'm trying to think of how it can be the same theme for the writing group, the general creativity group, and the photography group. Maybe it should just be the word down, looking down. Dorothy says, I missed that it was a shelf for books. Yeah, it's a bookcase. So you open the door and there are books inside. Amazing. So I'm looking for themes which will work for all my groups, the writing group, the creativity of any sort group, and the photography group. And I'm thinking maybe looking down. Thomas says, we have those public libraries too where I live. I will share a picture of one in a comment. Yeah, please do. I might not see it now, but I might. It depends. If you can share it, I might be able to see it's coming up here or I might not. You might have to do it under the thing where I put that picture of a tree with a smile. Then I might be able to see it. Tell me when you've done that. And so Beatrice has been my biggest contributor. This was a park we went to, and I got kind of boring shots of trees, and she got really creative ones. Not sure what's happening here, but there's a bird and there's a branch, and the branch goes right the way through the middle of the photograph, which is nice. You don't normally do that, people might tell you, no, put it towards the bottom, towards the top. But, sometimes it's really great to do what people don't tell you. And also, it may be that no one has ever told her to do anything, and this is completely spontaneous. So I like it. There's a big fat branch going right through the middle of the photograph, which is quite tall. Can you see? It's quite a tall photograph, which is the size of her smartphone screen. And I'm suggesting to Beatrice that this could be her thing. Tall, thin photographs. Every time she publishes one, I love them. What's your thing? Have you got a thing, people watching? If you're watching on the replay, what's your thing? My thing, one of my things, is square photographs. I'm suggesting that Beatrice might think that big, long, tall ones might be her thing, even maybe longer, even taller, to make it exaggerated. Or the size of her screen. I think it's great. And there's a bird. But the thing that I saw first was a kind of creepy man, stick man, walking on this with two huge long arms, with two huge long arms going down to keep his balance on the tree trunk, crushing the bird with his foot in the process. Doesn't it look like legs? Look, there's a knee bent there, and then there's another knee bent there with two arms, and that goes off to his head. It's great. And then anything else? So let's continue with the Beatrice theme. Look, it's even taller and thinner. It's crazy. And this again, I saw a sort of a person here, and I'm not even sure if Beatrice saw a person. She says, I see it now, the stickman, says Chris. And Chris, you can probably see a stickman here as well if you were referring to the last photograph. I definitely see a stickman here. And I love the treatment as well. It's kind of moody, strangely kind of saturated, but kind of not saturated colors. I'm not quite sure. You've done something to it. And I really like the effect. Very dark on this side, with the edges being lit by the sun behind, which is a nice effect. It kind of makes the shadow, the stick man, stronger. I can't believe that I got such crappy, boring photographs from this place when she was, my son as well, she was taking these wildly creative ones, and I was just, I don't know, taking pictures of my feet or something. And then I think we're on to other things. 4th of April, and it's now okay, that was published recently. I can look at things up to 2 weeks ago because that's my 2-week window since the last show. Dorothy was saying it's strange that people in posters, this happens sometimes in paintings, in galleries. Certain paintings are famous for the eyes of the subject following you, seeming to follow you. But I don't think it's a special effect. I think it's just that they're looking directly at the camera. So if you look at the poster from any angle, they still seem to be looking at you because they were looking at the camera, and you're looking at the result of the shot. So it is amazing though. It is pretty impressive. There's an incredible real optical illusion in the Montmartre cemetery, and I don't know if you've seen this before, but it's a plaster thing with a face, but the face is opposite. It's like if you took my face and you ripped it off and you turned it around and you looked inside, that's what it's like. Nice image. So basically it's a face, but instead of going out, it goes in. So the tip of the nose is actually the furthest away. So basically what happens is, as you walk past, the play of the shadows on this inverted face make it look exactly like it's following. It's literally, as you walk past it, it does this. It's really amazing. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. I think you're missing photos. Does that mean that you've contributed a photograph and I haven't seen it? Could be. And then we go down to some other stuff. So I think that was pictures of shadows on the trees as well. So it might be that there are some photographs on my profile here. Let's have a look, see if I can find any pictures of trees. I think someone contributed some in comments. Have I got all of these? Yeah, I've got those two. Where do you think they are, Chris? I'd love to find them. Current theme, talking trees. There aren't any comments there. No, I'm not sure. I'll just have a quick look on my profile page. So chugging down, I've got to find the thing, which this is a new thing that I'm doing. It's called Where's Sab? And basically, where am I when I took the photograph, or what am I photographing? I'll go with both of these. And this I will be looking at on my Paris show, which is next Thursday, not in 2 days. 2 days is writing, 9 days is creativity of all sorts, and then 11 days from now, maybe 12, is my Paris show. So I have a quiz. I have quizzes on my Paris show, and this is part of them. Where's Sab? So connoisseurs will know. Well, there's two sides to this. One is the easy one, and that's tell me what I'm looking at. And the not so easy one for real connoisseurs is, where did I take this photograph from? So this isn't supposed to be particularly spectacular photography. It's just for a shot for this quiz. And yeah, I can't find any more. I think you're right, Chris. I think there were some more tree photographs, but I don't know where they are. Going live, dum dum dum. Sometimes people put photographs here. No, can't find them. All right, so let me go back to some more photographs. I posted. So where did you post those, Chris? I posted the mushrooms in trees. Where did you post them? Did you? And Thomas says, I have done one under the trees somewhere. Well, somewhere. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Maybe in, did some people post some things in the Today's Today group? Let's have a look. There's Dorothy's moon bottom, which is wonderful. Beatrice. Now, Beatrice is really getting into the photographic mood because she was voting. It was the French elections 2 days ago, the first round, and she took a photograph of the voting booth. This is great. You see, get your camera out, take photographs, play around at any given moment. Thomas showing us stuff. That's a picture of a tulip, I think, but this isn't where the pictures of trees were. Oh, that was so disgusting. Here's a tree. So this is Kirsten, and she's visiting her favorite forest, she says, even though it was raining cats and dogs. I think I put one in the blog group. Not sure what a blog group is. So that is just a beautiful explosion of green. Look at those. I'm just seeing the details. I love the way that this tree is dark on the left, and it's on the left, and it kind of has its branches going over the top of this old tree trunk, is it? Which is covered in moss and flowers, and then you've just got massive trees going into the distance, just a web. Lacy branches going into the distance. It's a beautiful shot. These are trees. Look at that. And someone tried to convince me that I was quite a good artist of trees, whereas I kind of did this as a joke. But this was me, trying to suggest that I'm not very good, putting myself down. Shouldn't do that, should you? You really shouldn't do that. Okay, so here we are not on trees at all. So it doesn't matter. We can talk about any sort of photographs, but there is a theme. And if we miss the mushrooms this time, we will look at them next time. So let's go back to a few more photographs here, a few of mine, and then we will look at some BBC photographs of a special competition from, or award from Sony Photography Award. So I won't look at these two because I haven't published them officially yet. We'll look at those next time. So I'm going to go back to last week. I can look at a few more of these. This was, I think, the first one in this fortnight. It was me with the book, and I tried to get a funny photograph, really up close, nice angles of the book with the frame. I've got a finger in there to show that I'm holding it, and tucked myself into the book, although I was a bit dubious about its cleanliness. And to show you where I got it, I included a train, the way I do. Infinite Creativity Now group, I think. Thomas, now you're talking. You know what? I forgot that it's the same theme in every group. That's why I'm having problems with my brain. All right, we're going to get some more photographs. Yeah, same theme in all my groups, except the Paris one, which doesn't really have a theme. And yes, look. And what about in the Infinite Creativity Now group? Do we see any trees? Yes. Oh, well done, everybody. Well done for, but I'm not going to look at those yet. I'm just going to have a quick look at some of these. Yeah, with the train. So, always try to get the maximum of things which add stories to your photographs. So I waited for this train to arrive, and, it doesn't just get in that position by chance. There were a lot of photographs were taken. This was the best one. So this one, photographically speaking, it's supposed to be funny, but it's quite difficult to see because the thing that's funny is almost illegible. Basically, this says gas on every floor. It's a classic French sign that you get on buildings, and it says gas on every floor, and there's only one floor. So that's quite funny. In fact, because you couldn't really see the joke, I did this. I created another version. Forget the text. I created another version where I've actually enlarged that bit so that you can see it says gas on all floors, and there's only one floor. My theory is that it's a little gatehouse type thing for a much bigger building, but that doesn't change the fact that it's on a one-story building. This used to be a great feature of Paris, poop on the sidewalk, poop on the pavement, and it's got much better recently. But I do like to show all sides of Paris, and this was a big sign in a fancy area in the 7th arrondissement, and they're still worried about poop on the pavements. So some people, or some pooches, haven't got the message. And I took it at a nice angle so that I could get the street. I actually wanted in the bottom, what would have been cool would have been a big turd down there on the pavement, but there wasn't one. So I did get some streams of urine, dried urine, so to give a feel, a bit of atmosphere, ambience to the shot there. This one, a couple of big buildings being built recently by the French architect Jean Nouvel, and some people love them and some people hate them, and the haters are boring because if you're going to have a tower block, it might as well be quite an artistic one. We're actually looking at 2 tower blocks, and because this is the photography show, I'll try to stop giving you so much history about the stuff and just talk about the photograph. The sun was rising over the top of the tower block, so that's already quite interesting. But funnily enough, the first thing I saw wasn't the tower block because it's there. I didn't see it because it was there. I'm used to it. I saw 2 of my favorite chimneys, and I do take photographs of them quite often. And as with the Eiffel Tower, I'm always trying to find a way of taking an old familiar subject differently. Look, can you see the chimneys? I was very happy to see this shot because the two chimneys, which are normally huge, great things, are tiny. They're tiny because they're in the distance, dwarfed and squashed in between these brand new buildings. They're all brand new buildings, by the way. And the two on the right, you can see this one that we're looking at here is actually much lower than the one you can see behind on the right. They're both quite strange buildings, and I like them. I think they're different. They look like they're at strange angles, especially the one behind. It looks like it's lopsided going up, and then it's got another lopsided bit, like its head's been chopped off, and it's just hanging there. It's really cool. But you can't see them separately. I'll have to take another photograph of them separately. So I just like the fact that the sun was rising over the top of them, and that there's these chimneys, which are normally huge, are tiny. And on the left, coming in at that nice angle there, is a whole bunch of new buildings. There's about 3 or 4 new buildings, and for some reason they've decided to give them all completely different styles. Because the sun is where it is, it's shining, it's skimming the edges of the buildings, which is giving them a nice texture. I exaggerated that later with some subification, and I had a version of this that was much brighter, less sort of gloomy and moody, but I went for this one in the end because I liked the sort of gloominess. Sometimes you've got to go for the version that, if you've tried different versions, not the safe version, the one that makes you a bit uncomfortable. Because I had a different version. It was much brighter. It was more in your face. This is sort of Sab's photographs. And then there was this one. And next to the other one, this one looked dull. And I'm not really into dull. But I went with this one because there is contrast. You see the edge of these floors here? These are floors of a building. They are brighter than what's behind. So that's what I went with, because it was gloomier. There was also more texture on these as well. More of a sort of pre-millennium tension or end of days post-apocalyptic thing. Even though they're new buildings, there's something very dark about this shot, I think, which I like. And then I'll do that last row at the end. So let's look at some more of your photographs that I have found. So this is the writing group, and I think there were a couple of things. So Dorothy wrote some text because it's a writing group, and illustrated it. Cutting the top of a tree in a hedge. This tree, this top, growed over the others. One of the first this year. One that didn't understand it needed to conform, stay in the line, not showing the uniqueness of itself and its branches. I cut one more top, knowing it soon had exploded in length, knowing I saw it in time. I'm sitting there with 2 tops of a tree. So she's chopped the tops off 2 trees, which were growing as trees do, and she's reflecting on that. I'm sitting there with 2 tops of a tree, thinking about people that stick out, not conforming, not following the line. Well, when I and the hedge spoke last year, after the last cut in October, the trees were happy with their purpose of being a beautiful hedge that looked after me and my neighbours, being the playing ground for the birds and the cats, giving me privacy and singing their songs. That's a very poetic text, Dorothy. Wonderful. Thank you for contributing to the writing group. I need to get more people into the writing group. This was me contributing something on the theme. I looked through my photographs for old things relating to trees, and I found a few. I found a couple of poems, actually. Every time I saw a leaf, it seemed that I'd been inspired to write a poem instead of write a text. This one is called Ingrained. Nature knows, her wisdom lies. Heart deep relies on heavy boughs. Weathered veins reach out to us. A leafy palm, an olive branch, a helping hand rich with age. A chance to heal, offered in vain. Man doesn't. Man doesn't know, I suppose, because nature knows, it says at the beginning. when I read these, it's like I'm reading someone else's stuff and I don't know what it's about. And there was that creative theme. You can still write something about trees if you want. The theme, it doesn't. If you've got something else to contribute, go for it. So this was an old poem that I wrote many years ago, and it says, "Before the turn of the century." I'll read it to you. Can I read it? And if you stroll around, it's called Tree Light Bench. And if you stroll around 𝗏𝗏, maybe you'll see the tree, the light, and the bench that I was talking about. Yeah, I did include it. There it is. And it's also on my poetry website. It's a bit small, isn't it? Can I make it bigger? Then I will look in the creative group and see what there is. Tree Light Bench. And here's the tree, good tilt. And here's the tree, good tree, tall tree, strong branches sheltering the bench that basks below the light that warms the tree under the rain, the rain, the rain. And here's the light, good light, bright light, tall comfort for old friend the tree that huddles round the bench, that hears the lamp lament about the chill, the chill, the chill. And here's the bench, good bench, strong bench, bright paint gleaming in the light, the lamp that lights a million leaves, green tears that fall upon the bench at night, at night, at night. And here's the man, sad man, small man, leans back against the good tall tree that whispers secrets to the wind, looks up into the good bright light where rushing raindrops dart and dance, lies down upon the good strong bench, thin pillow tears beneath his head, and waits and waits and waits and waits and waits. And last but not least, over in the Infinite Creativity Now group, a different type of contribution from Thomas. This is a very strange looking tree, or have you Tomified it? That is my question. I think we just need to look at it. That's a feast for the eyes. Trees, I'll give you 3 recent shots, says Jean. She said that she thinks this one has actually been dumped there, maybe to be pretty in a lake. She said that somewhere, but she doesn't seem to see it there. I think these might be rimmed by snow. At some point she was taking pictures of snow. Otherwise it's a grid, a mesh of branches up close, which is nice. When you move away from reality towards texture, it's a different type of photograph. And this one is just incredible. My dinosaur eye. It reminds me of a lizard's eye, or maybe, I don't know, something like one of those a crocodile's eye. It's just incredible. Because I don't know any dinosaurs, but living creatures. This reminds me of a crocodile's eye. Or is it an alligator when it's just sticking up above the water? It's incredible. Look, even the bit in the middle, it's got the lines of the iris, the colored bit. Then it's got this around it, which could be the white. And in the middle, it's got a little dark hole, which could be the pupil. And then it's got its body, it's got its weathered face. It's just incredible. The only thing I would say now is, in terms of composition, what to do. And I'm not saying anything about this being fantastic or awful. It's neither. It's what it is. But this is a question you have. When you've got such an amazing subject, what would be the best way to represent it? Would it be straight on? Would it be putting the eye thing in the middle? Would it be putting up in the corner or off to a side? Would it be worth moving down so you're shooting across it, or would you lose the effect of the eye? Could you add something like a little leaf or something to add something else? Those are some of the questions. And then afterwards, what sort of playing around with it could you do afterwards? So that's amazing. Chris, last but not least, maybe. Here it is. Oh, hang on. Thomas is... Oh, I've got some comments. Infinite... Yeah. So Dorothy's saying, wonderful to hear you read your own poem. Yeah, I don't do that. I should do that more often. I'll do that more in the writing group, where I'm trying not to be modest. What I mean is... there's an expression in English to hide your light under a bushel. Basically, not if I write, I should be saying it without feeling embarrassed about it or anything. But there's a certain sort of, and British people also, they have a kind of modesty, that don't put ourselves forward, and yet that's stupid, isn't it? I'm here because I write. So yeah, I'll read a few. So thanks so much, Dorothy. That really is nice of you to say that. This is Chris's picture. And I immediately thought, oh, wow, who lives there? Who lives there? And I mean, did you knock at the door and see if anyone answered? And the other thought that came to me was someone should actually, write on it, paint it a nice little green or blue or something, and put a little doorknob with a sign on it saying who lives there, something like that. The little front garden with the mushrooms. They look quite magical, those mushrooms. Did you try any? Oh, you could if you happen to have a gnome or some sort of character or piglet or something, you could bring it and sneak it into the photograph one time. Just make sure there aren't any more. There are a few replies here. Such a great photograph, stimulating a few comments. That's what we want. Druids, says Chris. And this was an amazingly bushified photograph. I'm not sure what you've done here. Sort of strange, almost looks like, what's the process they call it? There's a process, solarization or something, where everything goes wild. And there's these two strange figures here. A very enigmatic shot. Yeah. I might be tempted to chop the bottom off, the bottom third, which is kind of a big lump of yellow, which for me detracts from the power of the clouds and the trees and this first part of the ground. That's just my, my initial thing as a comment. And then you would focus more on these two strange structures here. And Ronnie, maybe I said this, yeah, that's atmospheric. And Ronnie posted a naked photograph. Again, nothing, not saying anything about it. I always tell people, no naked photos. And she did. Then I said, yeah, can you tell us about it? What's the story? I'm going to say this. What's the story? And then she said, really like the sunshine through the trees, which for some reason, it didn't surprise me that she liked the sunshine through the trees. It looks like there's one of those starburst effects on it, but I think it's perfectly natural. Or maybe if the lens is a bit grimy, sometimes that you get that effect on the light. But it's really looks like old cars. Look at that, old cars. Beautiful picture. Thank you for sending that in. Lovely sunset from Australia. And this is where the other tree pictures are. Thanks, Chris. I read that after showing them to you. But I found them. That's the main thing. I will just, I've got to, don't have much time. I'm just going to finish by showing you my last two photographs. And then I will quickly look at some from the BBC. That's looking down a staircase. Next. I did play around with it. I love the fact that in post-processing, sabification, the edges of this, really the color stood out and the rest remained more or less very, very pale with not much color. And that's just by playing around. You don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, some nice angles looking down the steps there. This is a close-up of a very characterful Paris street number. I'm doing a collection of Paris street numbers from 1 to 100, especially 1 to 81. So I can have 9 grids of 9. And this is number 20. Did you see it? And this is number 82. And there's 2 82s, which is more interesting than one, don't you think? With a nice diagonal in between them. All right, so I'm going to finish my photographs there. We've looked at your photographs, and I'm going to quickly look over at the BBC in their pictures section, and there are reflective moments. What did I highlight? Yeah, so this is some of the winners from the Sony World Photography Awards 2022. And there are some lovely atmospheric photographs. Black and white. I must do more black and white. I always just regret the color that I'm missing, and yet there's something timeless about them. I thought this might be, refugees from 20 years ago, but in fact, it's right now. It's migrants in Mexico waiting to cross the border into the United States. Now that Trump isn't there anymore, or something, I don't know what I'm talking about, and it looks like he's holding something. I thought, what's he holding? And the wire's coming here. Is it a self-portrait? He says that the Migrantes series is a series of black and white portraits made in collaboration with the subjects. He set up the equipment, the photographer set up the equipment and the scene, and then allowed the individuals to choose the moment to capture their own image. That's really cool. By giving his subjects the shutter release, Adam hands a certain power to the sitter to make that decision on how to be perceived. These photographs are beautiful, meaningful, and kind, says someone from the competition. And it triumphed in the portraiture category. So she must have taken this photograph. It's very simple, isn't it? And yet a lovely face. Sometimes I don't know what to say about portraits of people, which are just Dorothy Thomas said the tree as it is, but a little color edited. That's that amazing picture of the tree, Thomas. Yeah. And then Chris is saying tree stumps. Yeah, but very, very strange tree stumps. I would go with druids. Yeah, I sometimes don't know what to say about photographs of people, portraits where there's nothing except them, because what can you say? Here is a person. You can say it's a wonderful portrait. You can say that the person is this and that, and yet it's very personal, and it's almost pointless for me to say, if I said, oh, she looks really something, well, maybe she does and maybe she doesn't. And yet this is almost just a situation where you've just got to look at it and be affected by it and then move on with your mouth shut. So I know my mouth isn't shut, but I'm not saying, oh, she looks like, she's lived a hard life or she has a deep soul. I'm not saying any of that. I'm trying to say, with pictures like this, there's almost nothing to say. Just live in the presence of this person for a few seconds and see how it affects you. There's another thing about portraits, and that when people don't have any expression, do they emit emotion or not? Because if someone's laughing, they're obviously laughing, so they're happy. Okay, crying the same. And yet here, her face is pretty neutral, and yet it does seem to be sending a lot of emotion or a lot of something about her character to me, and yet I don't know. It's strange, isn't it? Here's another category, and the category with comments from the people themselves. Architecture and design category. A lovely little house hidden away somewhere. It's German. Is it? Dorf is the German word for village. In the 19th century, the Croatian region of Slavonia was inhabited by people from all nations of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. German colonists made the largest cultural impact through language, crafts, and architecture. With the extinction of the village, the historic houses that became part of its cultural identity are the first to decay. So it's hidden away, decaying in a wood somewhere. The creative one. So this is someone who has created this collage. Is that what it is? Yeah, it looks like some sort of collage, which is pretty impressive. And documentary projects. The Children of the Financial Collapse in Venezuela by Jan Garup. More than 8.5 million people in Colombia urgently need help. It's a great shot, very original. The black and white does give it that timeless effect. Environment, Living in the Transition by 𝗠𝘏𝗘 𝗏𝗏. And this is 𝗾𝗏𝗄𝗏 Union on the southwestern coast of Bangladesh, one of the most vulnerable areas to the impacts of climate change. The purpose of this photo essay is to capture and communicate the situation for people living quietly in this transition. So climate change, I guess, is making the waters rise and everything's flooding on these flatlands. Life on Earth in the landscape category. Are these volcanoes? Is it the sea or the land? That's very strange. I honestly couldn't, I guess that's the land, but it almost looks like it was the sea with something splashing in it. Leave it there so you can actually read it if you want to. And a portfolio of someone with a big hat. A section of images taken over the last couple of years. Oh, with a kind of a feel for the loneliness of the pandemic. Okay, I think I will leave it there. Still life. That looks like something I might paint. It looks like a face as well. How about that? A couple of circles, a few lines, you've got a face. Us humans desperately searching for connection. And sport. Indigenous Brazilians, honouring their illustrious dead. It's the farewell and closing of a mourning period. Wow, look at that. It's a dirt-caked wild Mustang kicking up dust in northwestern Colorado, USA. Amazing. You wonder why it's in that state. And in black and white, it's incredible. And this is in the Netherlands. Close-knit communities, maintaining a traditional way of life. And image under the moonlight. A young man basking in artificial moonlight standing against a derelict background. There you go. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate you hanging in there with me. And so I'm thinking of the theme, and I'm hoping the theme could be something like looking down. Looking down. Would that fit the writing theme? Could you write about looking down or looking down from above? Creativity theme that could work. So it's going to be something like that, I think. Okay, folks, thanks for watching. That has been the Creative Smartphone Photography Show for this fortnight. I will see you again in 2 weeks. Contribute photographs on any theme at all, anything you like, any photographs, including the theme. And I will talk about them next week. And on Thursday, it will be the creative blog and article writing group, talking about writing, poetry, articles, anything you like. The next Tuesday, so a week from today, it will be the creativity show, talking about anything creative, productive, and any arts at all. Could be painting or flower arranging, doesn't matter. I'm interested in everything. And also how to be as creative as we possibly can. And then the following Thursday, it's Paris. Anything and everything I can think of to show you and talk about relating to the city I adopted, or did it adopt me? I really can't remember. Bye for now. Bye, Thomas. Bye, Chris. Bye, Dorothy. Bye, anybody else who is watching on the replay. And contribute your photographs or anything creative, and I will love you for it. Bye for now.